Before this story begins, if you enjoy motivational stories that inspire you to never give up, make sure to subscribe to the channel, like this video, and share it with someone who needs motivation today. In a small European town, a poor waitress struggled every day just to feed her two daughters. Everyone believed they would remain poor forever, but one daughter would grow up to build one of Europe's biggest fashion brands. Her name was Maria. Every morning, before the first rays of sunlight touched the town, Sophia quietly kissed Maria and Emma goodbye. Then she walked nearly 2 kilometers to the small hotel where she worked as a waitress. She spent 14 hours serving strangers, just so her daughters could eat. Money was always short. Some nights, there was only enough bread for Emma. Maria quietly pretended she wasn't hungry, so her little sister could eat without worrying. But Maria had a secret. She wasn't collecting old clothes because she was poor. She collected them because she saw beauty where everyone else saw garbage. Every torn shirt, every old jacket became another chance to create something beautiful. At school, everyone laughed at Maria's old clothes. Some students called her the waitress's daughter, but every insult only made her dream even bigger. One day, she promised herself, the same people laughing today will one day admire my designs. That same evening, Maria secretly visited the luxury hotel where her mother worked. She watched elegant guests wearing designer dresses worth thousands of euros. She quietly whispered, "One day, people across Europe will wear clothes with my name on them." She didn't know it yet, but someone inside that hotel had just heard every word. The mysterious woman slowly walked toward Maria. She picked up one of Maria's fashion sketches and looked at it for several seconds. Finally, she smiled. This wasn't drawn by an ordinary girl. My name is Isabella. I've spent 20 years designing clothes for Europe's biggest fashion houses. She looked directly into Maria's eyes. You have talent, but talent alone isn't enough. Isabella gave Maria the address of Europe's most famous fashion academy. If you study here, you could become one of the best. Maria's heart filled with excitement until she saw the tuition fee. It was more money than her family earned in an entire year. She applied for a scholarship. Weeks later, the answer arrived. Rejected. Then she visited the bank. She asked for a small education loan. The answer was exactly the same, as if life wasn't already difficult. Sophia suddenly collapsed while working at the hotel. The doctor said she needed several weeks of rest. Without her mother's salary, the family had no income at all. That night, Maria couldn't sleep. She looked at her mother, then at her little sister. She quietly packed a small backpack, left a handwritten letter on the table, and before sunrise, she walked away without telling anyone. She had only 35 euros in her pocket and one impossible dream. After 8 long hours on the train, Maria arrived in the capital city. Everything looked different. The buildings were taller, the streets were crowded. People walked so fast, no one even noticed the frightened girl standing alone with a small backpack. She searched for work all day. Fashion stores rejected her. Clothing factories rejected her. Even small boutiques said, "You have no experience." By sunset, Maria had nothing. With only a few euros left, Maria accepted the only job she could find: cleaning tables, washing dishes, and sweeping floors inside a small restaurant. It wasn't her dream, but it kept her alive. Every night, after working 14 exhausting hours, Maria returned to her tiny rented room. Instead of sleeping, she opened her sketchbook. For hours, she designed dresses the world had never seen before. Months passed. Maria secretly entered an international fashion design competition. She didn't expect to win. She only wanted someone, anyone, to notice her work. 3 weeks later, Maria received an unexpected phone call. "Hello, this is Isabella. I've just seen your competition designs. Come to my studio tomorrow morning. I think your life is about to change." Maria stood frozen. She couldn't believe what she had just heard. The next morning, Maria stood in front of Isabella's fashion studio. It was the most famous design studio in the city. She took a deep breath, opened the door, and stepped inside. Inside, dozens of designers were creating beautiful dresses. Luxury fabrics covered every table. The walls were filled with sketches that would soon appear on fashion runways across Europe. For the first time, Maria felt she truly belonged. Isabella handed Maria a simple piece of white fabric. She smiled and said, "You have just 3 hours. Create something that tells your life story." There were no second chances. This was her audition. Maria closed her eyes. She remembered her mother's tired smile, Emma's laughter, the nights without food, the old sewing machine. Every memory became part of her design. She wasn't just making a dress. She was stitching her entire life into it. 3 hours later, Maria carefully placed the finished dress on a mannequin. The entire studio became silent. One designer whispered, "I've never seen anything like this." Even Isabella couldn't take her eyes off it. Isabella walked toward Maria. She held out her hand. "Welcome to the team." Maria had finally achieved her first dream, but she had no idea that the hardest years of her journey were only just beginning. 5 years passed. Maria worked harder than anyone else in Isabella's studio. She learned how to choose fabrics, how to lead a design team, how to understand customers, and most importantly, she learned that fashion wasn't just about beautiful clothes. It was about telling a story. One evening, Maria walked into Isabella's office. She smiled and said, "Thank you for believing in me. But it's time for me to build my own dream." Isabella smiled proudly. She replied, "I was waiting for you to say those words." Maria invested all her savings and opened her very first fashion boutique. She believed customers would love her designs. Opening day finally arrived. She waited. 1 hour, then 2. By sunset, only 7 dresses had been sold. Weeks passed. Sales became even worse. Bills kept arriving. Rent was overdue. Employees needed their salaries. To keep the business alive, Maria sold the only thing she had left, the necklace her mother had given her before she left home. That night, Maria stood alone inside her empty boutique. She looked at the dresses she had dreamed about for years. For the first time, she whispered, "Maybe everyone was right. Maybe this dream was too big for someone like me." But the very next morning, a famous European actress walked into Maria's boutique. She quietly tried on one dress, smiled, and bought it without saying a word. Maria had no idea that this single customer was about to change her life forever. 2 days later, a photograph appeared on social media. The famous actress was wearing Maria's handmade dress. At one of Europe's biggest film premieres, within hours, the photo spread across the internet. Millions of people wanted to know one thing: who designed that dress? The next morning, Maria unlocked her boutique. Then she stopped. A long line of customers stretched around the entire street. People had traveled from different cities just to buy one of her designs. Within 3 months, every dress had sold out. Fashion magazines began writing about her. Luxury stores wanted to sell her collections. The girl who once couldn't afford fashion school was now designing clothes for Europe. 1 year later, Maria launched her own international fashion brand. Her collections appeared in Paris, Milan, Berlin, and Madrid. The same people who had once rejected her were now asking to work with her. But despite all her success, there was one place Maria could never forget: the small town where her mother was still working as a waitress. 7 years had passed. Maria quietly booked a ticket home. The next morning, Maria arrived in her hometown. Nothing had changed. The same narrow streets, the same old houses, and the same small hotel where her mother had worked for nearly 20 years. Maria smiled quietly, then walked inside. Inside the restaurant, Sophia was serving breakfast. Her hair had turned slightly gray. Her hands looked older, but she still wore the same warm smile. She walked to Maria's table. "Good morning, ma'am. What would you like to order?" She didn't recognize her own daughter. Maria ordered breakfast, just like she remembered from childhood: fresh bread, warm soup, and tea. While Sophia prepared the food, Maria quietly looked around. Every corner of the hotel brought back memories she had never forgotten. After finishing breakfast, Maria asked for the bill. Sophia placed it gently on the table. Instead of paying, Maria handed Sophia a beautiful blue envelope. I think this belongs to you. Sophia slowly opened it. Inside, there was no money. There were official ownership papers. Maria had secretly purchased the hotel and transferred every single share into her mother's name. Sophia's hands began to shake, with tears running down her face. Sophia looked up. Maria removed her sunglasses. Softly, she whispered, "Mom, it's me." For a few seconds, the entire restaurant became silent. Then Sophia ran toward her daughter and hugged her tighter than ever before. The next morning, news spread across the town faster than anyone had expected. People gathered outside the hotel. They couldn't believe the rumors. The waitress's daughter has returned, and she bought the entire hotel. Maria stepped onto a small stage in front of the hotel. She looked at the crowd, then at her mother. With a smile, she said,
"This hotel no longer belongs to me. From today, it belongs to the woman who sacrificed everything for her daughters." Everyone turned toward Sophia. She couldn't stop crying. Maria had one more surprise. She invited her little sister Emma onto the stage. Emma had dreamed of becoming a fashion designer. Just like Maria, Emma burst into tears. But Maria's dream wasn't finished yet. She announced the opening of a free fashion academy. For girls who couldn't afford an education, no talented girl should ever give up her dream because of money. The audience gave her a standing ovation. 10 years later, Maria's fashion brand had stores across Europe. Thousands of people worked for her company. Her academy had helped hundreds of young designers build successful careers. But whenever someone asked Maria about the secret of her success, she always smiled and said, "The most beautiful outfit in the world is a mother's sacrifice." If this story inspired you, remember this. Your dreams are never limited by where you come from. They're only limited by when you decide to stop believing in them. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more inspiring stories.